And the devil said to him, if you are the Son of God, command this stone to become bread. What was the last thing he heard from the Father? You are my beloved Son, in you I am well pleased. What is the first target that the enemy picked out? If you're the Son of God. The first Adam faced this question, has God said? The last Adam faced this question, if you're the Son of God. If you get those two issues settled, what God has said and who you are, temptation will have no appeal. All temptation falls through weakness in one of those two areas, where we question what God has said or we question who we really are. When we receive a word from the Lord, it has to be opposed. The word of the Lord attracts conflict. That's the nature of the word of the Lord. And when tribulation or persecution arises because of the word, it's the only way for you to discover the strength of the word. It has to be challenged. I remember as a child, I'd get a hole in my bicycle tire and take it down to the bicycle shop to get it fixed, They'd take the inner tube off, and they'd fill it full of air, put it under water, and they'd find the hole, they'd mark it, dry it, put a patch on it. They didn't put it back on the bike. They filled it full of air and put it back under water again. At least half the tests that we go through are to expose the good work he's done. But there's a second reason why the word has to be challenged. Because you have to have an option. There has to be two trees in your garden always. If there's not a second option, if there's not a second tree in the garden, you cannot be rewarded for the right choice. There's no reward where there's no choice. The concept of reward is huge in the kingdom. So the word in our life has to be challenged so that we have an option. You get this word, you have this sense in your heart. Somebody even prophesies over you. God's going to use you like he used Catherine Kuhlman. That's an awesome word. But what it means is that you will see someone die after you pray for them. God says he's going to use you powerfully in healing. Here's the contradiction. You prayed for somebody and they died. If I turn my heart to the question, it has the power to undermine the revelation. That process is essential to come into power. You can only trust people that will choose the right thing in the midst of adverse circumstances. And so Jesus went into the wilderness filled with the Spirit, but he came out in the power of the Spirit. So he had the experience going in, but it wasn't until he survived the opposition to the Word that he was able to broker the realm of power. That's why we always have an option to feed ourselves on what God is doing or on what he hasn't done. If you feed yourself on what he's doing, you'll always be encouraged. If you feed yourself on what he hasn't done, you'll carry the spirit of offense. You have to have an option. There has to be two trees in your garden always. When we receive a word from the Lord, it has to be opposed. It has to be challenged. If I turn my heart to the question, it has the power to undermine the revelation. At least half the tests that we go through are to expose the good work he's done.